I don't know if you would call this like a meme or just an idiom or a colloquialism, but in recent years, people have started saying, mentally, I'm there. It's one of my favorite new internet slangs. Mentally, I'm there. And I would say that my Instagram is very well programmed towards providing me mentally, I'm there content, like content that I want to be mentally there, and that transports me in a way that is deftly escapist. And a lot of people that I know are into like video games and movies and TV shows and stuff that will take them somewhere else. I tend to go into my head and I tend to want to think about things. And so I listen to a lot of thoughtful content, that's about people's thoughts about things, stuff that they have had in their mind, and then they have to get it out in video. So I listen to a lot of vlogs and podcasts and analytical type content. Most of it is like heavily pre-considered stuff. I don't watch a lot of like streamers that are just reacting to things. There's very few streamers that are like, there's pretty much only one that I've like regularly watched, and even then, since she switched to Twitch, I've had trouble keeping up with her. But there's a channel called Kiki, Kexke, and she does like whole discography rundowns of rappers based on like community voting polls. Like she does like a randomizer to select 4 rappers, and then has the community vote on them in a poll. And she'll always give like a different instruction about like what basis you should vote on, and then like we'll listen to the whole discography and have the community rank tier list that rapper. I think that's a really great system, and she's one of the only people who, like, her taste is interesting enough, like not even that it's so much aligned with mine, is that like I trust her taste, and the audience usually does a pretty good job scoring the rappers. So like, that's like the only streamer I follow. When it comes to live streams, I feel like that is a form of mentally I'm there content, in the sense that like the feel of watching a streamer is like I'm hanging out with you, like we're in the same space together. But it's weirdly one-sided, where like one person is doing a show in front of a bunch of people, and all of those people are just really kind of interfacing with that one person, and then whoever is active in chat. Part of why I like watching Kiki stream is that there is only a few people in chat, and I'm a chatter. I'm going to make myself known in the chat, so I do feel a little bit more of a sense that like if I'm being responded to, that I am in the room. I am in the conversation, and that is kind of why I have been a podcaster. Like why I'm somebody who does end up on other people's shows, is that like I want to be in the room, and therefore I will try to participate in the conversation so that I can be in the room. And there are some rooms that I don't want to be. I have a tendency to take over a show if I'm all the way on the show. So that's why I don't like to guest on other people's stuff as much as I like to be in the chat, because even in chat, I just tend to say things that get attention. Like, so regardlessly if it's just because people recognize me, or if it's because like just the stuff I say is more interesting than what other people are saying, like I have a tendency to draw attention from the streamer when I'm in chat a lot of the time. So I don't want to take over someone's show. Like I try to keep myself to a level where it feels like I'm participating, but I'm not like, I'm not the center of attention. I think of myself more in like of a panel context, right? Like if you're in a big panel room and they need questions, and you're the only person who has good questions, like there's a level on which you have to be in the conversation for the panel to be good, but you also don't want to be running the panel, like, and diverting all the attention away from the people who are actually like put the thing together. This is getting a lot more in depth than I anticipated about the theory of how I participate in things. Anyways, the type of mentally I'm there content that works the best on me is when it is adjacent to something I literally have done and want to do again, or like I can imagine how it would go if I was doing that. And that can mean a lot of things. Like, if it's a place, I've done a lot of hiking, I've done a lot of travel around the US, and so I'm especially enticed when I see like videos of places I haven't been that look cool and I know how to get there. Like, I know I could take these specific trips and I know what it would be like and what it would require, you know. And most of the time it's stuff that's like way far. I have no money, and I'm in Virginia, I'm in Hampton Roads. So like I'm as far away from any fucking hike as I could be in the United States, practically speaking. And God, that's depressing to think about, but we really are like one of the shittiest places to like walk, uh, in the fucking country. Yeah, it's bleak. It's bleak for hiking. And if I see the Instagram videos, I'm just like, mentally I'm there. Like I feel some of the I feel like I've experienced more places than I know that I have recently. Like because I've had a few doom scrolls that lasted quite some time. And like I can remember seeing just like so many waterfalls. So many Tennessee waterfalls that I'm like, I've never been to any Tennessee waterfalls. So I know that they're all just from Instagram. Now, aside from locations, Instagram will show me beautiful women in beautiful clothes doing fun things, lots of lesbians, comedy, it'll show me lots of trans girls who are funny that I would presumably want to be friends with, but I have no way of contacting. I have all these one-sided parasocial friendships with random funny Instagram trans girls. And I kind of try to like avoid all of this. Like when I'm on Instagram, it reminds me of the universe it's created for me. And I go, oh no, like this is going to take me somewhere else. Like this is not anything, none of this has anything to do with the rest of my life at all. None of what is on Instagram has anything to do with the rest of my life, except for that it's full of things that I want. It's full of things that I think that look like things I have had and want to have again, So in moments where, none of the trans girls I know are available to hang out with, here's a bunch of them that I don't know on Instagram pretending to hang out with me. In the event that I'm feeling sexually frustrated, it's going to show me a bunch of thoughts. In the event that I want to see cute animals, it's going to show me a bunch of cows. It's going to figure out what type of escape I'm looking for, and it's going to give me that. And again, all of it is like slant resembling things that I know are plausible, but not possible. Like I can't actually be friends with these people or have sex with these people or go to these places unless I had like an actual plan, And in a lot of those cases, no plan will get you closer. But like even with the travel, because there's a lot of it is like it'll show me a bunch of beautiful shit in a country I can't go to because I'm trans, So I'll be like, well, I might never go there. Like, I don't know if it's possible the laws will change by the time I'm old. It's possible I'll die today, Like I have no idea. So like I can't pretend that it's feasible for me to be everywhere that I want to be. Like, and I don't think it's healthy to task yourself with every possibility and potentiality. Like, For me, I've spent a lot of time trying to narrow down what RPG I am one day going to fall in love with. Because I've come to realize with video games that I have a hard time enjoying them if I can't get like the entire experience and feel as though I totally understand it as a piece of art. And so I love games that are like 10 minutes to 2 hours long, where I can just totally process it and store it in my mind and it's just there forever. And if I did want to revisit it, it takes no fucking time at all, you know? But when it comes to like a longer game, I feel like there's a tendency to want to just cut corners through it. You know, like a lot of games just include a lot of extra stuff for the people who are going to want to get lost in it. And so to me, the ideal game is one that you want to do everything, you know, or at the very least, the act of going through it quickly is compelling in and of itself, you know, like, and so I feel like I've I've ideated that there is a game that I would want to escape into endlessly, but it like nothing I've seen stands up to the scrutiny, you know, like and I've looked into every game. Like I know every I can't say I know every game because that's preposterous, but like it's so hard for me to find a game I've never heard of and looks like something I would enjoy. And there's like a few games that I enjoyed playing, but I'm just really bad at them. And like I've practiced a lot and haven't really gotten that good, you know? Like I'm thinking of Dodon Pachi as like a game that I legitimately love playing. The experience of playing it is great. But I can only get to like level 4 out of I don't even know. Probably less than 8 levels, but I can't even get that far. Struggled with video games. It's an escapist medium because again, there's not like one game that I love so much, both the experience of like playing it and getting lost in its world and like repeating it, that it's been my forever, you know, like go to, this is a comfort to me just in that it exists. There's a couple of candidates, you know, Diddy Kong Racing and Metroid Prime, I think, are the closest I've gotten to games that I'm like, I feel like I could come back to this over and over again and probably have fun. But I don't think my brain has clicked in yet to like the willingness to really sit down with games, in part because I don't really want to sit down. I really want to go outside. You know, I really want to go hike. And it's not that I want to be on an endless hike. It's that when I'm not getting that, then it's hard for me to want the other stuff. And I'm going to talk about what inspired this video, because I feel like I'm drifting around in such a chaotic manner that it's going to be hard for you to understand why am I talking about all these things until I kind of join it all together here. There is a Instagram profile where this dude is going around the United States. He's going to one specific location in each of the 50 states, setting up a CRT monitor, like using, you know, he doesn't show his rig in like every video or anything, but I'm assuming he has like a power brick and like a probably a fairly large fucking power brick, and he's just plugging the CRT into it, and a different console, a different game based on every location, themed around whatever the place is. And it's maybe my favorite Instagram series I've ever seen. Like, because I totally understand everything about how this is being done. And like, I can tell it's tough. He made a video of one of them is just like kind of a, here's the experience so far. I'm 35 states in or whatever. And the timetable he's on is it seems difficult because I'm thinking about, you have to have the right weather when you get there. You know, you have to be able to stick it out. Is he camping somewhere nearby? Is he getting hotels? Is he just sleeping in his car? You know, is he permitted, or like how difficult is it to, not have pedestrians all over your shot if you're in something that's kind of popular? Like he did one at the Chicago Bean, like that. I passed by that once. It's a busy fucking place. He did Mount Rushmore. He did, like just some gorgeous mountain peak in like Wyoming, and while he's fucking filming, a bison headbutts his car. There was footage of it. It was crazy. So, and this is like while he's playing Ocarina of Time, like at sunset. So, um, this series, as I look at it, is about creating aesthetical moments that they don't really reflect reality, in the sense that, like, you cannot time, like, I don't look at those videos and see an eternity of someone sitting in that spot playing Ocarina of Time, but that is the fantasy, right? Like, the fantasy that is being purported by the video is, imagine that you could sit on this mountaintop with this CRT, watching the sunset, playing Ocarina of Time in perpetuity. And because the clip exists, that fantasy exists in perpetuity. And it's beautiful to see because it's been so well aesthetically realized. But the reality is that that dude took his fucking, CRT and his GameCube up like, 100-meter fucking mountainside with his car parked on the road, you know, turned on the GameCube, got the footage. A bison headbutted his car. So he got footage of that. And then, assumably, immediately, he took the GameCube, packed it up, and left that spot so that the bison would not headbutt his car again. Like, in my mind, each of these was basically him setting up a console, taking a short clip, and then putting that fucking thing away, and then probably just enjoying his time at the spot, doing other things, probably getting other footage for his own, purposes to. But, like, this is an art project. It's not about playing video games in front of memorable places. It's about creating the image of someone playing that game in that place. He went to the Mall of America and he played Dead Rising. And there's a part where he's got, like, he set it up so that the controller this is not with any help. There's nobody else there. But he sets it up so the controller is pressing forward so that, what's his name? Frank is, like, doing his goofy ass weird walk. And then the guy making the video walks past the camera doing the same walk, like, into the mall. So that, like, you see him walking and you see Frank walking at the same pace. And it's just a great shot. And, like, I mean, I think he found a spot where, like, it says Mall of America, so you know that it is that mall. But it's a mall. Like, there's no way. There's no, like, shot that you can get a perspective on it that makes you think, oh wow, visually impressive, this mall. It just is the Mall of America and it's Dead Rising. Like, that's the point of the clip, and he's doing the thing from the game. Like, again, it's purporting a fantasy where you hung out in Mall of America doing Dead Rising all day. But in actuality, it's like a 10-second clip that probably took 20 minutes to get right. And then he had to fucking move his CRT out of the Mall of America. Like, there's just no way that was, like, any longer of a bit than however long it took to get that shot. And who knows, I mean, bringing a CRT into the mall, I feel like he definitely had to have some conversations before that one. Like, some phone calls were made, some organization was done, maybe. I don't know. At the very least, he had to talk to a security guard. If mentally I'm there is like, I don't know, I feel like it's a soft form of jealousy, like describing that you are feeling jealous, but in a way that is not like, oh, I'm mad that you are doing that and not me. More like I'm grateful that you're doing that because I don't want to be where I am. I'd rather be there, and I at least that's the way I've experienced that emotion. And so for me, like, I like watching like live show footage, for instance. There's a channel, Is Mars Still Burning, run by Marcy. She will upload just like, basically, I guess she just probably films every live show she goes to, but it's always like trans artists with massive trans audiences. And I've never been to a show with a lot of trans people at it. Like, I met a trans girl in Kansas City who had been to like 100 Gex shows and stuff, and like met lots of trans people at shows, and I was like really ideating the possibility of that. And there was a JPEG Mafia show where he had Jane Remover as the opener. My expectation was basically that every trans person in Norfolk would turn up to the JPEG Jane Remover show, and there was, as far as I could tell, no trans people besides me and Jane Remover at this show. But then I remembered also, like, well, okay, this is a hip hop show in Norfolk from a veteran, like it's a bunch of military people for the most part, and like nerds who would be at a JPEG Mafia show. I mean, the crowd was more attractive than I would have expected, and definitely less white than I would have expected, but it was definitely more male leaning than I would have hoped, but most especially not at all queer. It didn't seem very queer. I felt like the gayest person in the building. So, like, when I watch these shows that Marcy uploads, mentally I'm there. It doesn't matter, like, how it sounds or, like, even how it looks. It's just that, like, I immediately lock in to the fact that I'm like, oh, this is like a show where it's like a majority trans band and audience, and they're playing some crazy sounding shit. And like, I've been to enough shows that I know what it should be like. I know what the whole experience should feel like. I know what the other side of the room should look like that I'm not seeing on camera. I know what the music would sound like if it wasn't coming through my phone speakers as per recorded on her phone, microphone. But like, mentally, I just get teleported there. I'm not thinking about the experience that I'm having now as a viewer. I'm thinking about the experience she was having then as a filmographer, you know? And I also relate to people on the level of being somebody who records things. So, I'm always thinking about how was this achieved? And that's why, again, the Instagram series with the guy with his fucking GameCube on a mountainside is so appealing to me because it's a thing I would want to have done. It's a thing I would have wanted to come up with and put the effort into doing. And like, I can tell that it's rewarding from watching him do it. Like, it seems worth it, because if I wanted to visit all 50 states, I'd want to make it some kind of art piece. And it's really difficult to find a new way to kind of comment on things that you're visiting specifically because they are famous. Like, if you're going somewhere that's already been spoken about by hundreds of thousands of people, how do you make that a unique experience, even for yourself? And turning it into work is the kind of thing I would naturally do. But how do you make it good work? How do you make it something that nobody else has already done, something that resonates? And my instinct is always to go to some sort of remixing, collaborating, some kind of pastiche, some kind of linking things together. I'm looking for another word, collage. I want to see a combination of elements. And so there's many different ways, that people have taken on these famous things and put their own spin on it. But this one resonated with me because it's a combination of road trip movie. This guy's doing all 50 states in like one go. So well planned, well oiled trip. It involves video games, nostalgic video games. Clearly somebody around my age because the game choices are all games I know. And their choices of locations are interesting, because you're going to 50 states. There's more than one famous thing in every state. So it's more about what am I going to pick that I can pair a game with, that the game and the thing will make sense in harmony. And I'm somebody who, for instance, when Bird and I were traveling the country for work, every single state we went to, I made a point of listening to every artist I knew from that state because I wanted to get a sense of like, this is where this music comes from. I would say the most meaningful experience I had doing that was in upstate Oregon. There's like a road right along the river that separates Oregon and Washington. So it's like, you're on a road, you're basically on the border, and there's mountains on either side. And it's just mountains and mountains and mountains for like hours up this road. And I was on this road, I did like 3 hours up and back on this road, listening to Agalach. And they're from there. And the music is about being lost in the mountains. So I was driving, listening to Agalach, looking at the mountains and going, this is this. This music is this experience. This is exactly what this is about. This is literally the mountains that fucking John Hamm is wandering around / driving around and thinking, there has never been a silence like this before. Anyway, that's from Ashes Against the Grain. I think that's Fire Above, Ice Below. Yeah, there you go. If you listen to Ashes Against the Grain while driving around northern Oregon, you'll be like, yeah, this is that. So, and that's always been part of the fantasy with music for me also, is like a lot of it is about where it is. And like if you listen to black metal, it's usually about being from the frozen north. If you listen to death metal, it's usually about being from Florida. If you listen to rap, it's always about being from the very specific neighborhood that you actually come from. If you listen to a lot of music, is transportational, and that's part of the appeal. Some of it is about going to a totally different dimension or a fantasy. Lupe Fiasco's Samurai, even though I think it's like mostly kind of a mid album, its idea of like this basically being fan fiction for Amy Winehouse as she became a rapper instead of dying is like really captivating, and some of the imagery is like, okay, yeah, I can see this. I can go here. I can go into this fiction you've created, So, I'm very appreciative of stuff that can do that without me having to interact with it, even though interactive fiction is like in many ways the most interesting and has the most potentiality. I'm very glad that music exists because my level of executive function is so low that having to actively participate even in the level of like looking at a thing consistently is really tough for me. Music can just be in the atmosphere, and I can kind of notice it's happening again and again and then keep getting drawn back into its universe. So I do think that I probably use music for escapism more than other medium. But also, again, thinking content, where, like, if I'm listening to, like, someone talk about some rap battle, like, even though I'm in my world, my thoughts are in the rap battle. I'm thinking about the words and the people involved, and, like, there's sort of a flurry of again, a pastiche, a mosaic of images in my head of like what's going on in this rap battle that's also happening on top. Like right now, I'm processing all the shit I'm talking about while I pace around back and forth, and like it's hard for me to really take in my environment. It's familiar, so I don't really have to, but like, I if I wanted to, it would be tough for me to say anything about anything around me while also holding this thought nugget, which I'm rapidly losing. All right, bringing this back to the last part of my thoughts about it really is that this is kind of a struggle for me as a content creator. I have a difficult time creating a world that I think people want to go to. And like, I really underestimated how much people would like resonate with my like internet identity, because I saw it as very like boilerplate and not really an identity, Like I saw myself particularly at the height of being like a critic as having basically used criticism as a crutch to avoid having to engage with the fact that I struggle so much with what I consider to be like real creativity. Like to me, I needed to be an author or like a game developer or some sort of filmmaker to really be an artist, And then I think seeing stuff like Endless Jest vlogs and like sequelitis and stuff like made me believe that there was enough artistry to critique that could be a medium in itself. But ultimately, the part of it that I have ended up being the most interested in is the words. Like even though there's some aspects of filmmaking I find fun and editing and stuff, like I am most compelling through my words. It's why y'all, you obviously agree because you listen to stuff like this. Where there's no way you're watching this dizzying ass video for fucking an hour, like with your eyeballs. I mean, and like you're basically again escaping into a thought process. You're engaging with what I'm talking about, hopefully. Maybe you just got me on in the background and it's just nice to hear my voice while you're doing something else, and like you're soaking up a little bit of what I'm saying. But like if you're really like pulled into it in a way where it's giving you pause for thought, then that means it's something you kind of had to make time and space for, or at the very least you're using it to take up time and space that you have, because like mentally you're here, mentally you are here with me, and the only reason you would want to be here with me is that you think I am saying something interesting right now, because there's not enough about me to want to be. Like, there's not enough about this place to want to be in, Like, I could see maybe if you specifically wanted to read some of these manga or, like, watch some of these anime, but I probably would. Like, it's not really something we could do together. You would just kind of be here in place of me. I mean, I guess it depends, you know, but like in terms of am I somebody you want to actually spend time with, or is this a place you actually would feel comfortable being? I think there's some of you who the answer is yes. Krona is, is somebody watching this video for whom the answer is yes. I know for a fact she would be interested to be here because she has before and had a good time. So like there's people who would sincerely want to like who sincerely mentally I'm there like watching this video are thinking, I wish I could just be hearing her say this to me right now in person, and then we go play video games right afterwards. And then there's other people who are like probably playing a video game I'm not interested in right now. And like if you're in the headspace that like, oh, Trixie is somebody I could get into these other aspects of my life, like probably not, because like what I actually want to be doing is the fucking going to 50 states, pairing a video game with every state, and not literally that, but I'll tell you where mentally I go. Like when I think, where do I want to be? Is backcountry camping with my Game Boys and my speaker and my phone and my friends and food and fire. Because, like, the way that Bird and I have camped has mostly been car camping, and we usually don't plan well enough and kind of overburden ourselves. There's a lot of going back and forth from the car. I'd like to get to a level as a camper where the point of it was not just to be outside and camping, but to like be outside, like as a backpacker, you go places where you're not camping right next to someone else, which with car camping, it's some not always like that necessarily. And we've done a lot of it where it's pretty out there, and boondocking is fun, but you can only do that in some places. But like, I have an ideation of being someone who is capable of just walking for days, because hiking is something that puts me really attuned with my body. I like being in constant motion as per what we're doing here. I feel a numbness that sets in when I sit for too long. And it's, again, I can't move all day. At some point I get knocked out. At some point there is a moving on from the let's do things physically to the let's ponder what we've done, phase of the evening. And I like taking footage. I like recording my experiences. I like having other people around who can do things that I can film, or that I can just have to talk to and like share the experience with and talk about what's happening. And I also like pairings. I like to pair the right beer with the right location. Like Bird and I always drink the local beer everywhere we go. We always get some kind of local food. We always find something about the place that gives us that little bit more of the experience so that you will remember it, not because of just like, I went there, but like, it's a complete vibe, like remembering all of it. Yeah, I had my friends there. I had the beer, I had the food. We had a campfire. We listened to Ravina, we danced, we fucked under the moonlight or whatever. Like we heard the running deer. We did a bunch of psychedelics on day 2 and, listened to trippy music. Like, this is my fantasy. And it's not that it's difficult to realize all of that. It's just that it really does take like planning, and like you have to know the right people who want to do all those things. You have to organize, curate, like who wants to go where and do what when we get there. And in my fantasy, it's just like we're all going to go, to somewhere cool, and we're just going to do everything I like to do there. We're going to play the video games I like. We're going to listen to the music I like. We're going to do the drugs I like. We're going to do the hikes I want to do. And, we're going to cuddle under the moonlight at some point and look at stars. And in that fantasy, like, I feel like I've been nearby. I feel like I've been nearby to it. And I've seen visions of other versions of it. And like every time I'm on Instagram looking at these places and just thinking about, that's a place I'd like to have a campfire. That's a place. There's a whole genre of Instagram videos that's just like a clip of a beautiful serene forest and then text on screen that's like back shots here, or like just looking for somewhere to get plowed or whatever. the way that Instagram just blends like sex, adventure, anything that makes your brain go bling, it just puts all of it together, and is like, here you go. It's the most like what would I call it? Dope slop imaginable. Mentally, I'm there. Mentally, I'm with that guy who is really putting real effort into making dope slop content, mostly for the sake of, you know, probably being able to look back on it and go, yeah, I really did that. It was stressful, it was difficult, but I got the fucking footage. And that footage stands the test of time. And, I feel like I've done a lot of uncoordinated movement through my life lately where, um, I've just been struggling to get footage that I want and also that anybody else wants. And it's like, again, nobody wants to be, not nobody, but not very many people want to be in this attic with me. Not many people want to be in my mind, and I don't want to be here. Like I'm fine being here, but my preference would be out there. My preference is my preference is being shown to me very clearly by Instagram all the time because it understands it. It can decode what I will look at and just feed me that. So I know what's being sort of advertised to be. And it's funny that it is so effective because of the fact that, again, it's just that it resembles something I have had or could have, theoretically, but can't literally. I can't literally be at those places or talking to those people. So when I take a step back from it and I address myself in reality, I think, like, okay, well, mentally, I'm here. What can I do here? Like, what can I do here that will make me feel better about being here other than mentally transporting myself there? I don't have the answer to these questions yet. Let's go to the members shout out segment now. This video is longer than I thought. All right, shouts out to members. Arthur Washington, Hewan, Joshua Wiley AL, Elaine, Deep Talker, Waterfan, Ranila, Nathan Pugh, Rielli and Friends, Superchunk 121, Luna_Lulu, Max Potion TCG, Isabel Incorporated, Zemq, Curbman, Crystalline Fos, Zydeas, Zinc, Radio Knights, Brianna W., Baba Caduceus, Pika Pika 2000, Sister of Scarlet, Kun, Mayday from Space, Spectral, The Mr. Grafixable, Oh My Guy, Commenter number 456, Spacey Filmer, Your Stuff is Cool, CC, Plague on Humanity, ASE Presents, Denacori, Brody, Z-Cypher, Gary Always, Gigadonk, Zerakiel, Zen Huxtable, Duncan264, Gassy Hall, Taperclip, and Night Night. Thank you all. We're at 46. I appreciate it. Love you. See you in the next one.